fell off an aircraft carrier as it tried to make some evasive maneuver to avoid a Houthi missile. How significant is this? Is this incredibly embarrassing for the U.S. military?
Yeah, I would say it's very significant, and that it is very embarrassing for them. Again, the Yemen is the poorest country in the Arab world, one of the poorest countries in the world, and they're having to hide their ships. Again, keep them far from Yemeni territory. Yet they're still vulnerable. Again, what are these aircraft carriers? How much do they cost? $10 billion, $11 billion? I mean, these are enormously expensive things, and it had to take that evasive action. There was admitted to by American officials, and they lost a $60 million F-18. It again shows that where we are, what warfare in the 20th century is about. It's about drones and missiles, much more than aircraft carriers. I think aircraft carriers, I know people, again, smart people whom I respect disagree, but I think the day of the aircraft carrier is coming to an end. If we have a real war with a periodic adversary and there's an aircraft carrier involved, it's going to be sunk. Look, I mean, it's just like the Houthis themselves can threaten one of these. And
Shalom. All praises, honor, and glory unto the Most High, Yahweh, Hashem, Yahushai, Hashem, Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of the great millstone, and salutations to all your sincere camp. And this is your brother number one, back again with another video through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Hashem, Yahushai, Hashem, Kodash. All praises and glory is due, especially in the times that we're in. So yeah. Let's just go right into it. So I want to quickly just jump and get this article right here. So you heard what the individual said, right? That the US just lost a aircraft carrier in Yemen, right? So let's get that. I think he said that. But because what I'm seeing here is that the US lost a single F-18, okay, an F-18 fighter jet, right? Because they were trying to avoid missiles that were fired by the Houthis. And this is it right here from Responsible Statecraft 44 minutes ago. God damn. Well, damn. And you see that basically that's what's going on right now. So yeah, let's get that. So this is a responsiblestatecraft.org, okay? F-18 rolls off US carrier as it turns to avoid Houthi fire. $67 million. Damn. $67 million. Okay, $67 million fight, and this is where your taxpayer money is going into. 67 M's, guy. That just for one fighter jet, and in an aircraft carrier. Let's get that as well. How many? Let's see. How many jets can an aircraft carrier hold? There we go. So yeah, carrier air wing. Other aircrafts are stored on deck. In order for a carrier to deploy, it must embark one of 10 carrier air wings. The carriers can accommodate a maximum of 130 F or A-18 Hornets or 85 to 90 aircrafts of different types, but current numbers are typically 64 aircrafts. 64. Let's use that. Let's say these aircraft carriers, they are holding 64 F-18s, right? So that's 67 million, right? 67 million, right? Multiplied by 64, which is of course $4.2 billion worth of aircraft on that navy ship, on that aircraft carrier, man. That shows you that Lockheed Martin and Raytheon, they are, hey man, that should right there that these Edomites that are in charge of, the small house that are in charge of selling these weapons to Babylon the Great, your Lockheed Martin, your Raytheon, so on and so forth. Man, they are smiling all the way to the bank because that's how much money they made from one single aircraft carrier, man. Let's keep reading this, right? So basically, what happened was that the U.S. Navy was forced, basically had one of its aircrafts forced to do an evasive drill because they were avoiding Houthi missiles, and ultimately it fell into the ocean, so they lost that aircraft, right? And the video that I actually was playing in the beginning, let's go to that, okay? And this is a video from, I don't really know the channel name, and I haven't really seen these dudes out here like that. You know, conversations among the ruins. Okay, and it just popped up on my feed, and basically what it shows is that it says America's military is stuck in the 1990s, and Yemen just proved it. So I just played a little bit of that because basically what they were saying in the video is that, hey, that look, man, the Houthis are actually putting in that work against the armies of America, Babylon the Great. Because if you have been paying attention to the news, you know that not once but twice now, right? Plans to bomb, right, or send airstrikes on different locations in Yemen have been leaked by, I think it's Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, right? He leaked the first one in a signal chat, which this Atlantic reporter, got the information and leaked it in the news. And the second one, I believe, he sent it to his wife, right? And that's how it got leaked as well. So two times, these planned airstrikes against Yemen was leaked. So this is most likely the aircraft carrier and the fighter jets that are actually dropping those missiles on Yemen. And what this shows you is the times that we're in, because Bible prophecy is being fulfilled right here. So let's get that precept first and foremost. Right? Art thou become as weak as we, right? Because, hey man, this is a oversight, right? Something that would never happen 20 years ago, hell, even 10 years ago, right? So now this is the book of Isaiah 14, verse 10. All they shall speak and say unto thee, art thou become as weak as we? Art thou become like unto us, right? This is basically referring to America's military might, right? And America's global dominance over the earth. Because the nations are beginning to realize that, hey, Babylon the Great is falling, man. And with that fall, they are losing their military might. They are losing the influence that they had on the earth, right? They are losing their power and influence that they had on the earth. And with the loss of the power and the influence, the nations are becoming to be less and less scared or wary of America, Babylon the Great. And you are seeing that as evidenced by how, these reports came in, right? About how the Houthis are actually faring against the soldiers of Babylon, the soldiers and the soldiers that America, Babylon the Great, sent towards them. Now, of course, the reason why the US is actually bothering, the Houthis in Yemen, and the reason why the US is, planning these different airstrikes on Yemen, right? Is of course for the sake of the least of the flock. Once again, another Bible prophecy coming to pass, right? The least of the flock shall draw them out, right? So let me just put everything in its proper context, because what you have right now is mainly aircraft carriers, right? And just if your aircraft carriers and all these F-18 fighter jets being deployed in order to fight against the Houthis, because you don't have actual US soldiers or US troops being deployed against the Houthis, okay? And in the video, these dudes were talking about how the new face of war is this drone warfare. So basically everybody is sending drones towards each other, right? Everybody is trying to build on the drone technology, and that's basically what's happening in Russia and Ukraine for the most part. The Ukrainians and the Russians are basically just using drones to pick at each other, and you are not really seeing too many ground troops out there. And if you are, man, you know that the drones are going to get to them first. That's why you are seeing that Esau is just broadcasting this the robot dogs, right? The robot drones and these different robot AI technology. I saw a video, a short about this AI gun that was programmed to shoot at certain colors, or programmed to shoot on certain commands. And that's what the new face of war is going to be looking like, man. It's no longer going to be, the trench warfare of World War One, right? Soldiers running at the battlefield, running at each other in the battlefield. Now, it's going to be, this kind of drone warfare out here, where drones are being sent to, enemy territory to attack them, shoot them down, and this and so on and so forth. And all these drones, just remote operated in one, by anybody with a significant amount of training. Now, this is the new form of technology. This is the new form of war that is being waged on the earth, right? But the point of this video is not to focus on the drone technology or anything like that, but rather to focus on the waning strength of America, Babylon the Great. And now that the nations have sensed that, hey, America, Babylon the Great is not as strong as it used to be, they are now all preparing themselves, for World War III, because that situation is still very much in effect. Okay, World War III is still very much on the cards, especially in the times that we are in. So now, you see the book of Joel. Let me just get to the main points. Okay, so this is the book of Joel 3 verse 9. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up, right? And that's why you see that all over the Middle East you have these different basically military groups, right? Basically these different I don't really know what to call them, mujahideen, jihadists. I don't really know what term that they use for them. The Houthi, Hezbollah, Hamas, right? These different military groups are really waking up all over the Middle East, because in the times that we're in right now, man, the nations are preparing for war against Esau Edom. The nations are mad against Esau Edom and are looking towards or looking for revenge against Esau Edom. This is the precursor to World War III. And of course, you see that the hottest place where all this is happening is, of course, in the Middle East, where the small hearts are, okay? And just like we said, just like we established, the least of the flock shall draw them out. And that's what's happening in this time. Because guess what? America, Babylon the Great is already drawn out, right? There's not going to be any it shall. They are already drawn out. They are already sending troops, sending money, sending all kinds of sending weapons over to the state of Israel in order to support them in their the systematic the ethnic cleansing against those Ishmaelites over there in Palestine, right? And also with the war that they are trying to wage low key against Iran and Syria and all the other nations around about them, right? Yeah, so we're in those times. So now Joel 3 verse 11. Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about thither, cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Yahweh. Right, so that is the time that we're in right now. Okay, so like I forgot to read this right here. Joel 3 verse 10. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. And that's right, man. That's why you see these nations are basically rising up against Esau Edom. Right, first it was Afghanistan with the Taliban, which is another part of these Middle Eastern military, Mujahideen, jihadists. I don't know what tend to use groups that are being raised up in the Middle East, right? First, you saw it happen with the Palestine, and now you're seeing it happen again with the Houthis, right? So the US can't really, what's what I'm looking for right now? The US can't really, um, show that military might that they used to have before this time, okay? Because hey, now you see these nations are beginning to come together and strengthen themselves against America, Babylon the Great. You see what's going on with BRICS right now. So basically, anything that happens, these different nations are going to have to come together because they are in the same block to fight against America, Babylon the Great. And that's what America is basically trying to avoid antagonizing Russia or China, right, by invading or bombing Iran. Okay, trying to avoid getting in a full blown World War III between them. But we already know how this thing goes, okay? World War III is not going to be fought by Esau against Esau, but rather it's going to be fought by the Mosai Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, right? It's going to be fought by the Mosai Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, mainly our Lord Yahushai, against the armies of Esau Edom, which includes the armies of the BRICS, as well as the armies of NATO, as well as the Space Force, and etc. Okay, and that's really how World War III is going to shake out. But in times that we're in right now, man, you see that, man, Esau is losing his power gradually. Esau is losing his power. America, Babylon the Great is falling, and the nations are beginning to rise up against Esau. So with that, all in the video right here. Once again, all praises, honor, and glory unto the Most High Yahweh, Sham Yahashai, Basham Rakakwadash, Wa Abad Babal, and through the Spirit of Yakim, and you are quite edified. Shalom.